Hey guys, it's QuickyBaby and welcome back to World of Tanks, and this time we've got the pleasure of watching the Good Names Are Taken playing in the Tier 9 British non-turreted tank destroyer, the Tortoise. Well, the Good Names Are Taken, that reminds me of playing World of Warcraft probably about 10 years ago. At least you're not called a Legolas 247 with the Legolas kind of spelt wrong. So I'm going to abbreviate your name to Good Names in this replay, and boys, you're going to have an absolute cracking result today in the Tortoise. Now, what's special about the Tortoise? Well, it certainly isn't the top speed, as it's going up this slope at 8 kilometers an hour. And even along the flat, you reach the max, which is 20 kilometers an hour. This thing does not get anywhere quickly. It's also a gigantic target, and while its armor does look very thick, it does have some very easy weak points, and even here is a weak point. Pretty much the whole of the side of the armor, unless you're angling it like this. The rear, it's awful. The Tortoise is not designed to take a beating outside of its hit points. It's got 2,000 hit points, which of course is fantastic. That's a huge amount. That's what usually a tier 10 tank destroyer would have. But its armor isn't going to be able to ricochet much unless it uses the 10 degrees of gun depression that this tank gets, and 10 degrees is a hell of a lot. It does allow it to work ridgelines very well. So you might be thinking, well, not the best armor, but a huge amount of hit points. Not the best top speed limit. What is good about the Tortoise? Well, this tank has the highest DPM, that stands for damage per minute, in the game, because of its crazy rate of fire, which is, I believe, 8.45 with 120mm. Just to put it into perspective, this tank not only has the highest DPM in the game, that's any tank, higher than a T-57 Heavy, higher than a Waffenträger Alpha E100, higher than the Object 263, higher than anything. It's higher by 7%, with over 3,380 DPM, or shall we call it mouse per minute? This tank can kill 1.1 mouses per minute. And lots of people get surprised by the rate of fire. Look at this T-54 Mod 1. He gets hit by the Tortoise, he repairs his tracks, he tries to surround it, he takes another 400 hit points away from him as he tries to traverse around him, and very well played by Good Names as he finishes him off. I'm not sure what that T-54 Mod 1 expected. I don't think he has seen Tortoises before. Or maybe he sees them as just big, juicy 2,000 hit point snacks. Trust me, you do not want to mess around with this tank. There's nothing there is nothing in the game that will rip you apart faster than the Tortoise. And it's not like it's incapable of doing so. When you think that it's got the 10 degrees of gun depression, it can aim quite well to the left and to the right with a nice gun arc. The tank also gets a very meaty amount of penetration, 259. It's also got negligible aim time at 1.7 seconds. So it's not like it can't use the DPM, it can use its DPM very well. It can even fire on the move. And lots of tanks like this, they obviously just don't have a clue. They think, well, I just got hit for 400 damage. Surely it's not going to reload very quickly. Just check out this rate of fire. This is what the Tortoise is designed to do, just rip apart tanks while not getting flanked. And it needs to use its DPM to stop it from getting flanked. A different tank destroyer without this kind of DPM would probably have that KV-3 behind him shooting his butt right now. But not the Tortoise. It's got enough to deal what's in front of it, turn around and then deal with what is behind it. But remember that Good Names is dealing with tanks which are lower tier than him. This tank is 2 tiers lower than him. And considering he's a tank destroyer against this KV-3, didn't end very well for him. I bet you Good Names was a bit disappointed that the artillery put such a good shot into that KV-3 there. He was probably looking forward to devouring that tank pretty much in half a minute, I guess, if it's got about 1,500 hit points, right? And that is a scary thing. We're just over 4 minutes into the game here, and Good Names has picked up 5 kills, make that 6 kills. He's on his top gun already and 4,100 damage. And he didn't really have that much support, maybe an artillery shell here or there. They were coming from the front, from the back, from the front, from the back again, trying to flank him, and he still handled himself very well. Not so good there, putting a shot into that Mutz's gun. Maybe he can find the back of this T-29's turret. Oh yes. Securing his 7th. This position really on Windstorm is fantastic for a Tortoise. From here, at least you can only get engaged from the front or the back. Hold on, there's a T-54. Whizzes past him. T-54 stops, tries to put a round into him, and quite rightly starts to run away from a tank which has ripped apart nearly half of his team already. So as I was saying on Windstorm, yeah, these positions are quite nice because at least you're only going to get shot from 2 angles and you can control where they're going to get you. And also, if you're able to reverse your way up to a building, that stops them from completely having your backside. And this tank is pretty heavy. I think it weighs 70 tons. I've got a list here. How much does it exactly weigh? It weighs 76.5 tons to be exact. That means that it can use a super heavy spall liner, which is quite useful when you're getting hit by high explosive rounds. So now, Goodnames is going to take on the might of the Soviet tank destroyer at tier 9, the Object 704. He puts 1 round into it. The Object 704 bounces off the quite thick plate, well angled. And how many rounds is he going to put into it now without return? Another one, that's his second. Puts in his third, and this is the difference between one of the highest DPMs in the game with a 120-pounder and getting absolutely smashed by the BL-10. Good play by the Object 704. He knew exactly where the weak point was on the Tortoise and takes away 763 hit points from Goodnames. But he did 1,327 to the Object 704. And that's not even with any high rolls. Just over average, pretty much exactly average, and then under average, and then finishing him off with 131. So now, Goodnames has got to try and protect his artillery. He is alone with 1 self-propelled gun versus 3 self-propelled guns and a Mutz. Looks like the Mutz must have spotted the M40/43, and the M53/55 finishes him off. Now remember what I was saying about the 10 degrees of gun depression this tank has. It's not very fast, but at least it can use ridgelines very well. He auto-aims at the Mutz, takes a snapshot with the 1.7 seconds of aim time. Remember, this thing doesn't go very fast either. It's also incredibly accurate. This tank is 0.31 accuracy. You can snipe very reliably in the Tortoise. If you're not hitting your opponents reliably, even in their weak points, several hundred meters, then you're having a bad day. Luckily, Goodnames avoids the 3 self-propelled guns, and he's down to 374 hit points there. One of them splashing near his tank, but luckily doing no damage, just probably light track damage there. How far will Goodnames go in this battle? He's already killed 9 of the 15 opponents, well, the total opponents that he could possibly have. But 3 self-propelled guns against this lumbering beast. Let's just hope that they don't get the Tortoise on its back. So, the tanks that I would really be worried about in this situation are the M53/55. That thing has got a very flexible turret. Yeah, as if self-propelled guns need turrets, right? It also is blisteringly fast. It could run rings around the Tortoise. And if the M53/55 was able to get to a building such as here, there's no way that the Tortoise would be able to find him unless the M53/55 let him do so. And that's one of the frustrating things about the Tortoise, is that because of its okay engine power, but 20 km/h top speed limit, the enemy tanks often dictate the pace of the combat against it. There's the Su-14 too. Oh, nice roll in there, 410 damage. That was just under a 50-50 whether he would kill that tank in a single shot. I have no idea why Goodnames is not loading these high explosive shells. This tank actually gets HESH ammunition, believe it or not, as if it needed any more buffs to its damage capabilities, which has 120 millimeters of penetration, matching the caliber of the gun, and 515 alpha damage. 120 millimeters is more than enough to go through these self-propelled guns, unless he hits probably the tracks. So I'm very surprised he's not loading it, because all of these high-tier self-propelled guns do have enough hit points to take a shot at least half the time. And with the M53/55's case, probably about 3/4 of the time he can take a shot from the Tortoise. So the M53/55 narrowly misses. Good luck there for Goodnames, but he's also got to worry about the Su-14 too, who has picked up a kill on the enemy team, and he now knows exactly where the Tortoise is and is probably zeroing in his shot. However, there's only one thing that the Tortoise can really do in this situation, and that is plow straight towards his opponents. Remember, the M53/55 has got 450 hit points, and this 120mm does 400 on average. The M53 misses, and there you go. Not quite the damage roll that Goodnames was looking for. 442 damage in there. Not quite nailed. If he'd used the high explosive round there, he would have had 515 average damage, and then he would have had to been exceedingly unlucky to not one-shot the 53-55. But I guess Good Names is probably under a hell of a lot of pressure right now, having secured 10 kills and over 7,000 damage. There's the M53-55. Will he find him? Oh, no! Gosh, that tank able to dictate the pace of the combat here. Will the Tortoise ever be able to catch him? Oh, he could just go over here. He could go over the ridge line. I think that would be the best bet right now, and to harass him. Doesn't take the risk, though. Oh, my word. That was very nearly his life taken away, but luckily his tracks absorbed most of the damage. And so he only took 264. However, now he really is on his last chance. Only 110 hit points remaining. All either of the artilleries really have to do is put a shot anywhere near Good Names. However, he comes around the corner anyway, clutch fires into the tank. Now, he got splashed by the Su-14 too. We know he's in the corner, but Good Names doesn't seem to realize that. He has to turn his tank all the way around. Will he be able to find the shot into the Su-14 too? He needs to roll high. Oh yeah, 410 damage, finishing off the third self-propelled gun. That's his Pascucci's medal. 7,557 damage and 12 kills. What a gigantic carry here on the Windstorm map for the Good Names are taken. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is what happens when you underestimate the tank with the highest DPM in the game. That 8.45 rounds a minute rate of fire combined with a very reliable 120mm gun makes the Tortoise a machine to be reckoned with. The lack of flexibility in the Tortoise didn't really allow Good Names to show off in this replay. He frankly just did everything right. Slow and steady, nothing flashy, but no mistakes made enabled him to carry this top-tier matchup. Let's just take a quick look at the post-game stats. So the Good Names are taken, picked up 99,968 credits here. That's nearly 30k profit. He got 2,927 experience, which is 1,951 base. That is huge for a tier 9 tank destroyer. He secured a Pascucci's medal for killing 3 enemy self-propelled guns, a Pool's medal for his 12 kills, the high caliber for 7,557 damage, and a steel wall medal. How much did he block? Wow, 3,370. I guess that's all of those tier 7 and tier 8s that were shooting him earlier, and also that one rather meaty ricochet from the Object 704, which enabled him to stay in the game and use those 2,000 of hit points to donate to the artillery that were trying to make short work of him, but never quite managed to do so. All in all, an absolutely fantastic result here, but I must add the caveat that if you guys have seen this replay and you think, oh, I must rush towards the Tortoise and get it, frankly, this is a bit of an extreme example of the tank. I watched a replay similar to this and did a commentary on it early last year, and I said, oh, I'm going to rebuy the Tortoise after this, and I did so, and after 5 games of pulling my hair out and wasting, I think it was either 2 to 3 million credits on this vehicle, I don't really want to play it again. For every time you get into a matchup like this and have your opponents walk into you one by one by one, there's another replay where some competent medium tank manages to take your tracks off and then just keep shooting you in the side over and over, which is very frustrating. Nevertheless, hopefully you guys still enjoyed this video. If you did, please consider giving it a like down below. It really helps the channel out. And if you want to see more Tortoise gameplay to decide whether this tank is worth picking up, then simply click through up here to see a plethora of other replays, including a full tank review, or use that more info icon in your top right hand corner of your screen. And let me know in the comments down below what you guys think about the non-turreted tier 9 British tank destroyer. And as always, thank you so much for watching. You've been epic, and hopefully I'll see you soon.